Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to call the April 22nd Board of Education regular meeting to order. At this time, would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. You're welcome. We would like to just say good evening to everyone, and at this time, Ms. Parker, could you do a roll call, please?
Madam Chair,
Here.
Pam Pereza,
Here.
Tommy Old,
Here.
Dr. Sheila Williams,
Present.
Rodney Walton,
Here.
Valerie Bogues,
Here.
Sharon Warden,
Present.
Gabby Johnson, Mitchell Manuel,
Here.
and Haley Mayhew.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, Mr. Walton, would you please read our ethics awareness statement?
Definitely. I would like to welcome everyone to the April 22nd, 2024 meeting of the Elizabeth City Pasadena Board of Education. It is my duty to remind the members of the board that it is your responsibility to avoid all conflicts of interest and potential conflicts of interest in accordance with Chapter 138A of North Carolina General Statutes. As public servants, it is your duty to continually monitor, evaluate, and manage your personal, financial, and professional affairs in such a way as to ensure that the absence of conflicts or potential conflicts. Does any member know of any conflict of interest or potential conflict of interest with respect to any matter coming before the board today? With that being no, let the record reflect that no conflicts exist. Thank you, Chair Cobb.
Thank you, Mr. Walton. At this time, we need to get a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as printed.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Can we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Walton. Ms. Warden. Ms. Parker, did you get Mr. Walton? Thank you. Do we have any discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Tommy Old,
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams,
Yes.
Rodney Walton,
Yes.
Valerie Bogues,
Yes.
and Sharon Warden.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I would like to turn our meeting over to Dr. Parker, who is going to lead in some recognitions and instructional highlights.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and want to say good evening to everyone again, and thank you for joining us this evening. Very excited to be able to recognize some of our outstanding Dolphins tonight here at J.C. Sawyer. I want to thank Ms. Robertson, Principal Robertson, and her staff for hosting us. And to kick us off and introduce the recognition, we'll have Dexter Jackson Hurd come forward and talk a little bit about the wonderful students and staff we're going to recognize tonight.
Testing. Good evening, Board Chair Cobb, Vice Chair Pereza, distinguished board members. We are so excited to talk to you about or to introduce today our J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. There's some outstanding things going on here at this school, and I guess the theme for them is, of course we do. So without further ado, introduce Principal Roberts.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to J.C. Sawyer. I would like to begin by recognizing students who made a 100 on the recent NC check-ins. Our first recognition goes to Kyron Riddick, He scored a 100 on the math check-in, number 2 and number 3. Is Kyron here? He's not here, but he certainly does deserve recognition. Next, I have River Clark. He scored a 100 on the recent math check-in. I have Ocean Linton. She too scored a 100 on the math NC check-in. Next, we have Isabella Jackson, 100 on the NC check-in. Also, we want to recognize Romello Nunes for 100 on the math NC check-in. And we have Carter Winterburn, who also scored a 100 on the math. We have 2 students who scored 100 on the reading NC check-in, and they are Dexter Sunderman and Mitchell Brown, 100 on the reading NC check-in. For staff recognitions, I'd like to begin by recognizing my school improvement team. These ladies have kept me afloat this year, literally and figuratively. First, we have Jenny Jones, our kindergarten representative. Renee Braymiller, our first grade representative. Maya Jaycox, second grade. Diamond Brookins is our third grade representative. Next is Amari Wood, fourth grade. Amy Williams, fifth grade. We have Simone Skinner, who's our EC representative. I don't think she's with us tonight. Amanda Wandell is our Connect representative. She is not here tonight either. Next, we have Elizabeth Anderson. She's our parent representative. She also works as an interventionist, but she's our parent for this. Next is Ebony Blow, our teacher assistant. We have Lori Abbott, our counselor. Britannia Weicker, our instructional coach. And Bernadine Wood, my amazing assistant principal. A few more recognitions. I'd like to recognize Eric Glasper, our head custodian. I don't think he can be here, but he really keeps us together. I have Caitlin Farrell, my secretary. She really does keep me where I need to be when I need to be there. Michelle Godfrey, our nurse. And Miss Reber, our school bookkeeper, is not well but cannot be here. But all of these people make a difference to the students and staff at J.C. Sawyer, and I couldn't do it without them. Let's give them another big round of applause. This year at J.C. Sawyer, we are riding the wave to Dolphin success. We envision a school where confident, responsible, innovative 21st century problem solvers can learn, thrive, and grow through hands-on experiences. We are student-centered and data-driven. To achieve this, everyone plays an important role. Let's see some of the great things happening here.
We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we sing. We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins, and of course we love to create art.
We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we use Heggerty to teach phonemic awareness.
We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we utilize small group instruction.
I'm a J.C. Sawyer Dolphin. Of course I incorporate cute activities into my lesson. All right, everybody, hold your boards up.
We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we have high expectations. We catch the wave by
work hard, act responsibly, very respectful. Everyone say, catch the wave.
We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we've had students that have placed at the district science fair for the last 2 years.
We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we do UFAS every morning.
We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins.
Of course we love to read.
I'm a J.C. Sawyer Dolphin. Of course I use concrete representational abstract with my students. So they first work with their manipulatives, then we go to models before they start working with their numbers and symbols. Okay, guys? On your...
We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we teach our students how to read and write.
I'm like learning about and I'm like learning.
We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we have PLC meetings.
I'm a bookkeeper data manager dolphin, and of course I keep up with enrollment.
We are J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we underline the evidence in our reading passages when answering the questions.
We are J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we do small group reading instruction every day.
Hello, I'm J.C. Sawyer. My name is Eric Glasper. I'm the head custodian, and of course, I keep the school clean.
We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course I teach nonsense nurturing.
I'm a J.C. Sawyer Dolphin, and I'm Teacher of the Year.
We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we attend SIT twice a month.
I'm a dolphin, and I'm the J.C. Sawyer speech therapist. Of course we make progress in our IEP goal. We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we use Class Dojo for positive reinforcement. All right, friends, back to work.
We're J.C. Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we have data meetings with our students to empower them to take control of their learning.
I am a JC Sawyer Dolphin. Of course, I use manipulatives to help my students maximize on their full potential and help them to grow, play, and learn.
We're JC Sawyer Dolphins. Of course, we use a variety of ways to communicate our needs.
We're JC Sawyer Dolphins. Of course, we update our bulletin boards monthly.
We are JC Sawyer Dolphins. Of course, we have nutritious and delicious food.
We also thank you for calling. Bye-bye. We're JC Sawyer Dolphins. Of course, our school is warm and inviting.
We're JC Sawyer Dolphins. Of course we do vision and hearing screening.
We're JC Sawyer Dolphins. Of course, we're making a difference every day.
If that doesn't get you excited about school, I don't know what will. This time of our meeting, people start getting a little antsy because they look around at others and go, okay, who's going to get up and leave first? Because I got to go home and cook my dinner. If you just bear with us for a couple more minutes, Dr. Parker is going to give his superintendent's report, and it contains a lot of information that you want to hear. And we want to highlight our 3 student board members. After our student board members give their reports, we'll take a very short recess so that you don't have to question whether or not it's time to get up and duck out. So if you'll just bear with us for those reports, we'll let you know when the recess is going to start. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Cobb. A couple things I'd like to share. One, I want to say how proud I am of J.C. Sawyer, Principal Robertson, and the whole staff and students here for the recognitions, but also that amazing video that highlights all of the incredible things that are going on in this schoolhouse here. And I'm so proud of all the work that our staff does to make a difference in the lives of our students every day. So I'm very proud of the work that's going on here. Also want to say that I'm really excited that J.C. Sawyer is one of 3 elementary schools that will, in a couple of months in August, be launching our new Spanish dual language immersion program in kindergarten and first grade here. And we're very excited about that. And if anybody in the audience or listening to us online would be interested in enrolling your child in kindergarten or first grade, please reach out to Principal Robertson, and we'd love to be able to tell you how to do that. That's a really exciting thing that's happening here. We're also in the process and underway of getting ready, hopefully very soon, to begin some renovation and construction on the kindergarten wing that is in this building. As you know, an unfortunate series of events led to a fire in that classroom over the holiday break, and so we've been working very hard. Our maintenance director, Marlene Wilkins, is here, has been working very hard with our contractors and insurance company to be able to move the process along very forward. But in a very short amount of time, we're going to begin some renovation on those rooms with the goal of having our kindergarten classrooms back in their spaces absolutely as soon as possible. So that is some work that is going on. I'll share with everybody here. A couple of things I just want to shout out. One is we've had some amazing events and opportunities going on over the past couple of months, and we'll continue to do so until school ends. I want to share a couple of things that I'm proud of. One is this past weekend I had an opportunity to attend a theatrical production at the Arts of the Albemarle that was put on by our 3 high schools, and it was called Mamma Mia, the musical. And I just want to say to our students that performed in that, they did an incredible job. I just cannot remember seeing a high school production at that level of quality in my life. I mean, I am just blown away at our students that were singing, that were acting, and to our staff that helped produce that play. What an amazing job they did. So huge shout out to our theater classes for producing Mamma Mia. Also, a couple of weeks ago on March 24th, students from all of our elementary schools came together at the Arts of the Albemarle and participated in our all-district choir event. And that was another amazing event where our students came together and performed several selections at AOA. Students from J.C. Sawyer participated in that as well as other students. And that was a phenomenal event. And so a big shout out to everybody that helped make that possible. Believe it or not, we have 23 instructional days left in this school year until our young people will take their end of grade assessments. That's not calendar days, that's school days, but 23 days. And so at the end of February, we launched an initiative called our 60-day plan of purpose. And so what we challenged all of our staff, students, and families to do is to make the most of those 60 days, to let every day be purposeful, to let every moment in the classroom be one where students learn something that will help them demonstrate on these exams just how talented, smart, and incredible they are. We have 23 days left as of tomorrow. And so my message to our entire district is let's make every one of those 23 days count so that we show exactly how amazing we are in this school and in this district. A couple events I'll highlight. We are tomorrow and Thursday of this week kicking off our SAT awards. And so we're really excited to bring all of our families together to recognize student achievement tomorrow evening and also Thursday evening. If you have a question about that, please see Mr. Jackson Hurd, or you can speak with Ms. Robertson before you leave. But we're excited to invite everyone to that event that's coming up. The week of May 6th will be Teacher Appreciation Week across North Carolina. And so I would invite everybody in here to seek out an opportunity to show some love on your child's teacher. And that just might be a simple card, or it might be something that you could do to show them how much you appreciate them. But truly, we are all here because of a teacher at some point or the other that poured into us. And so we probably should let every day be Teacher Appreciation Day, but we have this week through the year, and that's the week of May 6th. And so I want to invite everybody to find a way to celebrate your child's teacher and reach out to them with something special. We also have coming up our high school proms, which are going to be on April 27th. The early college prom will be on April 27th, along with Pasquotank County High School. And then May 4th will be Northeastern's prom. We have some senior awards nights coming up. We're very excited this year that our Ministers Council is going to be hosting our senior baccalaureate, which will be on June 2nd at Pasquotank County High School. Everyone here is welcome to attend that. But our Ministers Council is a collection of local faith-based organizations that have come together to support our schools, and they will be hosting this baccalaureate this year. We're really excited about that. And before you know it, we're going to be celebrating our young people as they walk across the stage and graduate, our seniors, the class of 2024. And our commencement services will be on May 18th. The early college will be hosting their graduation the weekend of the Potato Festival on Saturday there at 10 a.m. And then June 7th, Pasquotank County High School's commencement ceremony will be at 7 o'clock. And then Northeastern's will be on June 8th at 10 o'clock. And so just a highlight of some of the really important events coming up, but I would encourage you to check our website. We have a calendar with all of these events. There's a lot of opportunities in the next couple of weeks to showcase our students and our staff and how proud we are of them. And I invite you to join any one of these events and be a part of it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. And now we will turn things over to Vice Chair Pereza and our student board members for their reports.
Okay, good evening, everyone. We have our 3 student board members here with us this evening. They're next to the last meeting with us before they graduate. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves and give their reports.
My name is Gabrielle Johnson. Okay. And I attend Northeastern High School, and the first week in April, we had our spring break, which was much needed. And after that spring break, we came back, and we've been really prepping for our tests coming up in the end of May and June. With that being said, our APs are the first week in May, so I know we're really stressing those out and studying as much as we can for those. Our sports are still doing very well. I know our men's tennis and track team is doing extremely well. They've got conference matches and then regionals coming up here soon. And then we have our SATs tomorrow at Northeastern at 6 o'clock for anybody that wants to come out. And then lastly, we have our prom coming up on May the 4th. So everybody is really excited about that and getting ready for that. Pass it to Jonathan here.
Good evening. I'm Mitchell Manuel. I go by Jonathan to a lot of people. What Well, Dr. Parker took a lot of what I was going to say. All right. So, to recap what my school has done this month, we had a benchmark prep rally. It was preparing for our upcoming benchmarks, and it was really cool afternoon full of events. We had a bunch of games centered around benchmark questions, and it was really fun. We ended with a tug of war. That was pretty entertaining, to tell you that much. And then we had our National Honor Society inductions last week. We inducted 16 new people, so that's wonderful. A lot of young scholars at our school. And our FFA has been on a roll. They had their regional rally where, am I allowed to say names? Okay, we had Daniel Haynes. He placed first, and he's going on to state competition. And we had 4 students compete in the introduction to the horticulture. And we had Michael Callan, Cheyenne Evans, Ashton Hutto, and Jasmine Moore. They all did a great job. And then our FFA chapter placed 3rd regionally in poultry judging. So we're going to pass it.
I'm Haley, a student from the Early College. So first off, we recently had our first ever field day, which is an event arranged by the SGA just to celebrate the students as the year's about to end, and to celebrate seniors and stuff, where there were snacks donated by the PTO and other students, and various games they could play around with throughout that day. We also, National Honor Society elected the new leadership for the next year, and we are coming up to the last student-led conferences for our 9th and 10th graders. And that's just where the students and their parents talk together about their progress throughout the year. As Dr. Parker said, we have senior awards nights May 1st and graduation May 18th, but we also have underclassmen awards May 15th. My school doesn't have that much going on because school's about to end. We have 10 days left of COA classes, so that'll be the end for a lot of students. And for everyone else, 15 days left of school.
Thank you all. That's it.
Okay, thank you all for your reports. At this time, we really would like to thank you all for coming out. We are going to take a very short recess so that anyone who needs to leave can transition and do so. And we will gavel back in just a couple of minutes. Once again, we appreciate you coming out. It's so nice to see a crowded room. Thanks a lot. to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes for March 25th, 2024, and both sets of minutes for April 15th, 2024, as presented.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Pereza. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Any further discussion? Ms. Parker, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Pam Pereza.
Yes.
Tommy Holt.
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams. Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Valerie Bogues.
Yes.
Sharon Warden.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. We are at the portion of our agenda for public comment, and just wanted to share some points from Board Policy 2310, which governs public participation at board meetings. Each speaker who signs up for public comment will receive 3 minutes to present a comment. The public comment session will not exceed 30 minutes except by a majority vote of the board. The sign-up sheet will be available 30 minutes before the meeting begins for any individual or group to indicate their desire to address the board. During the public comment period, the board chairperson will recognize speakers in the order which they signed in. When the person's name is called, please approach the podium without anything in your hands except paper or index cards if needed. Substitute speakers will not be permitted, and speakers may not donate any portion of their time to another speaker. If a speaker is unable to present all of his or her information within the specified time limit, the speaker may provide the board with additional information in written form. If an unusually large group of people request to speak, a majority of the board may decide to reduce the time for each individual or to require the designation of a spokesperson for each group of persons supporting or opposing the same position. The chairperson will preside over the public comment period. Board members will not respond to individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. The speaker will be made aware when his or her 3 minutes is up. At that time, the speaker must leave the podium without comment and either return to his or her seat or leave the meeting. Except in cases of emergency, information received during presentations will not be acted upon at the time it is received. And finally, disruptions by any person or persons of a public meeting will be subject to action in accordance with General Statute 143-318.17. Ms. Parker, do we have anyone signed up this evening for public comment? Okay, this evening we have one person that is signed up for public comment, so we are going to ask Ms. Elizabeth Shaken if she'll come to the podium. And Ms. Shaken, Ms. Parker will be your timekeeper, and she will let you know when to start, and then she'll also let you know when the time is up.
Whenever you're ready. I see and recognize the enthusiasm of many to implement Dr. Parker's K-12 pathway in ECPPS. We all hope to see an increase in student enrollment and achievement with this vision. I see and recognize the important work our university-assisted community school model is doing to increase parent involvement, student achievement, and to advocate for the needs of all demographics within our public school system. I have done a great amount of research into Dr. Parker's K-12 pathway in ECPPS, including the Global Leaders Framework, the IB program, and the Dual Language Immersion program, with the understanding that the Global Leaders Framework will be implemented into every elementary school and middle school in our district. I asked the board members of ECPPS, staff members, and parents to consider replacing the Global Leaders Framework in our elementary schools with the education model, Leader in Me. The education model, Leader in Me, implements the first 3 listed strategies under the top priority, Reimagining Education, within Dr. Parker's approved strategic plan, which are invest in innovative strategies that transform the educational experience to ensure learning is relevant to the interests and goals of all students. Develop an instructional framework that aligns with state and national standards and creates the conditions for student engagement and empowerment in every classroom in the district, and infuse interdisciplinary learning throughout each school so that students learn habits of success, empowerment, and personal leadership. The Global Leaders Framework does not implement these 3 strategies, but does implement the 4th listed strategy, which is to infuse global education throughout the curriculum to promote global citizenship and global responsibility. The 5 core paradigms to the education model, Leader in Me, are everyone can be a leader, everyone has genius, change starts with me, empower students to lead their own learning, and educators and families partner to develop the whole person. Within 5 to 7 years, the measurable results our elementary schools will exemplify are highly effective students and adults who are leaders in their school and community, a high-trust school culture where every person's voice is heard and their potential is affirmed, and engaged students who are equipped to achieve and entrusted to lead their own learning. Speaking from personal experience, we cannot judge one another on what we do not know, nor should we be unkind to ourselves. I know that when we are in the service of our fellow beings, we are only in the service of our God. Here is the framework to the education model Leader in Me for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shakin. At this time, we are going to move on to our consent agenda. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to accept presenting of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda for April 22nd. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Walton. Any discussion? Ms. Parker, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Pam Preza.
Yes.
Tommy Old.
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams.
Yes.
Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Valerie Bogues.
Yes.
And Sharon Warden.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move on to our Financial Business and Technology Committee, and Sharon Warden, the chair of that committee.
At this time, I would like to recognize our Assistant Superintendent of Finance, Ms. Candy Tilley, and I would like to turn over my role as chair to my vice chair, Mr. Rodney Walton.
Thank you, Ms. Ward, and thank you, Ms. Tilley, as you come up.
Thank you, Mr. Walton and Ms. Warden. Good evening, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and other distinguished board members. Have a presentation for you tonight on the proposed budget. Just want to start off with some complications that we had to address as we started this process. There, in state budgets, we have been funded based on the best one of two in previous years, and that's how we are currently funded. The state, at the direction of the General Assembly, has proposed a new funding model, which is a funding in arrears model. In this model, we are to use the previous year's month to ADM. So this budget is built on that number, which was for ECPPS 4589. Additionally, in the budget bill last year that was passed in October, in October of this year, they changed how virtual charter schools are funded. So since the inception of charter schools, virtual charter schools have been $790 maximum per child per year. They are now receiving funding just like physical charters. So any physical charter gets a per pupil allotment. Now virtual charters are receiving that funding. For the current year, that cost to us is approximately $45,000 for the 34 students that we have in virtual charter schools. Additionally, we had to take into consideration the salary and benefit increases that were in the biennium budget. It is proposed for the 24-25 year that all classified staff will receive a 3% increase. All certified staff will receive, on average, 3%. New teachers, it's about 5%. More veteran teachers, it's about 2%. The benefit increases, retirement increase, the hospitalization increases, all of those in our position allotments, it really doesn't come into play. We get a position regardless of the cost. But in our dollar allotments, it makes a difference. And so as we move forward in the budget presentation, you'll understand why we have to budget some fund balance this year. The federal funding cliff, I think we've all heard about that in our roles as well as seen it on the news. As ESSER comes to an end, we are losing significant funding. In the current year, we had about $13 million. Now, of course, ECPPS received much more than that over the course of the years since the pandemic. But that is a huge shift for us, is to figure out how we're going to pay for stuff that we used ESSER money for. And of course, inflation. Just like you and I, we are experiencing inflation with some of the things that we purchase at the district level. We have been notified that our property insurance will be going up 10%. We have been told that our values of our properties will be reassessed. And then, of course, we've built into the budget a 3% increase for utilities. So just wanted to highlight some of the ESSER projects that we funded this year with the $13 million that I previously mentioned. We had several positions, and we did a lot of capital outlay projects. We did things that would our school system would be able to benefit from for many years. So we had normal instructional supplies, but we also did classroom libraries for every classroom in the district, classroom rugs for every elementary school in the district. There's a huge cabling project that's going on right now that will increase our infrastructure across the district for improvements in technology as we move forward. Marquee signs at every school and at the district office, playgrounds at every elementary school, and a lot of furniture that we have received but has not been put in place, and as far as the classroom furniture, but there is a plan to do that as soon as the kids leave for the summer. So this district was very strategic with their ESSER money, and like I said, made some great decisions about making an impact for years to come. Our budget priorities. Of course, as you know, we have a strategic plan that is driving what we do on a daily basis. It is also driving how we are funding our school system in the next year. In Reimagining Education, the dual language immersion program will be offered next year at 3 elementary schools. The IB middle years program will start at Elizabeth City Middle, and then River Road will pick it up the next year, and then we'll have the IB diploma program at the high schools in the following year. And of course, global programs will be immersed in all of our schools. This budget is reflective of those programs. Expanding partnerships. As we all know, P.W. Moore is a community school, and that model has worked very well for that particular school. That community school model will be expanding to Elizabeth City Middle School and Northeastern High School next year. Talent, recruitment, and retention and development. I think we can all agree our human capital is our greatest asset. And so we are trying to think differently. We're trying to reimagine, how do we keep our teachers? And we have great staff, and we want to do great things with them, especially in our new programs. And so we're looking at a model called advanced teacher roles, and you've heard about that in the past, and that will allow our greatest teachers to remain in the classroom, have a greater impact on a larger number of students, while also being leaders and helping to coach and model for their peers. The Teacher and School Leader Incentive Program is a grant that we've received, and it is very similar to the ATR, Advanced Teaching Role Model. And finally, operational excellence. I'm proud to say that the Finance and HR Department will undergo software conversion in October that will streamline a lot of our processes, making us more efficient, the two departments, but also in our procurement. When schools need things, we can do things in a more timely manner. And so this budget reflects all of those priorities from our strategic plan. So this is an estimate. Of course, as I mentioned, we're looking at formulas that the state has, and I've calculated out what I believe our revenues will be for next year. And you will see that this budget is about a $72.6 million budget. That is significantly less than where our budget stands today because of all the ESSER funds. So, Dexter. So as we move forward, then you'll see where we're appropriating fund balance. So my predecessor, Ms. Rachel Haynes, and her department did a great job in using ESSER funds as well as state and federal, other state and federal funds to the benefit of the district and was able to build a fund balance that puts us in the position where we are today. Where we are, there is a federal fiscal cliff, but ECPPS has the funds to not make it be so impactful on us. We've got a year to try and figure out, okay, how do we scale back? What do we do? Implement new programs. The ATR model helps us with some of that. And so this current expense budget is requesting the same amount from the Pasquotank County that we've requested the last several years. It is budgeting, of course, fines and forfeitures, which we get by law, the miscellaneous income, and then, of course, fund balance. So our local current expense budget is approximately $14.6 million. Now, our capital budget. One of the things in our priorities is in our operational excellence is to focus on our facilities. And so we have several roofing projects and painting projects right now that have either gone out to bid, you've approved, and we're just waiting for school to recess so that we can start those, or we're in the process of getting those bid. We're going to continue those initiatives as we move into the next year, just hitting some different schools. And then lighting upgrades. There's been some significant concerns about some of the safety in some of our parking lots. And so this district lighting upgrade will allow us to address that, as well as some interior lighting. And then the canopy project at Weeksville. Currently, the students have to walk outside in the elements to the art building. This canopy project will have a covered walkway for our students. So tonight, this is showing what we plan to ask from Pasquotank County when we go to them and present our budget on May 6th. The local current expense is $11,364,000. As I mentioned, that is what it has been for several years, so we are not asking for an increase there. But the capital outlay is a little bit higher, but it is not a lot higher than what has been asked for in the years past. So our total request from the county will be $13,626,150. Any questions?
Yeah, I would just like to say that to you and Meredith and the entire department, thank you for what has been a multi-month process and a lot of hard work to put into what is an extremely detailed budget presentation. And I also want to thank your department and, as you mentioned, Rachel, for work that has gone on over the past 3 years to ensure a really strong financial situation for the district as we navigate what every district in the state and the country, quite frankly, is dealing with, is a transition from the federal support money through COVID back to normal operating budgets. And because of this work that's being done, we're in a very strong place to be able to transition back to a normal budget without having to do it in a drastic way. And so I'm very appreciative of that work that's been done, and then the hard work you all have done to be so thorough with this. So appreciate all that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Tilly, and if no one else has any other questions, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make the motion that we approve FBT 01, 2024-2025, Superintendent's proposed budget as presented.
I'll second that. And may I say thank you to you and your department for the very hard work and the effort that you put forth to make everything right for us financially. So thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Do we have any discussion further? Ms. Parker, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Pam Preza.
Yes.
Tommy Old.
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams.
Yes.
Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Valerie Bogues.
Yes.
And Sharon Warden.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Tilly.
All right, next on our agenda, we are going to move to the Personalized Education Committee, and the Vice Chair Pereza is the chair of that committee.
Okay, thank you all. Our first agenda item is Transcend Reimagining Schools. This is just for information. We will be hearing from Phil Jones, School Design Partner, and Delisha Moore, Principal at Pasquotank County High School.
Good evening. Ooh, hot mic. Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing? Awesome. My name is Philip Jones. I am a school design partner at Transcend Education. And for the past about year and a half, we've had the privilege to partner with the staff at Pasquotank County High School to reimagine education and really start to reimagine what could be some potential student experiences for students aligned to the 21st century. I'm gonna take this off. All right, here we go. All right, so that set me up. All right, so here we go. We've been working together for about 2.5 years. We started working together in about October 22 when the Kaplan District decided to apply for what we were calling then our Rural School Designs cohort. A little bit more about Transcend. We drastically believe that school needs to be reimagined for students to be aligned to the things and the trends that are happening in the 21st century. In order to do that, in order to get those really equitable student outcomes for kids, we have to work with the community to assess the needs of the community and also have conversations with students to assess their interests and make an alignment in that. Over the past school year, ECPPS has picked P-Tank as a lab school to really start to center on what are the needs and what are the interests of students and how can we start to make some work to change and shift the model that we are currently doing to make their experiences more relevant. In order to start to land on like, what do kids want? What do kids need? We have taken a very extensive research and development process, which has consisted of us doing a lot of learning from students, a lot of learning from the community, and then working with them to create new experiences. On the next few slides, you'll see a timeline kind of where our work has started and grown, and I'll just kind of give a highlight on each slide. Last May, May 2023, before we came and said, like, we're gonna work together for the next year, myself and another Transcend coach, we spent about a week here at in Elizabeth City, learning from the community and really just trying to figure out, like, is this a mutual match? And through that, we had the opportunity to meet with some of your students, community members, and we were just blown away with the level of community allyship and partnership that already exists in ECPPS. And we said, we can come here and do some really great things together. And we can build on a lot of the assets that already exist in the community to take the learning just outside of those four walls of P-Tank, but put it back into the community. This past school year, this past fall, a few members of the design team who are represented here, along with some other ones, spent a lot of time surveying kids, talking to kids one-on-one, engaging in coaching conversations to really learn, like, what does it take to really redesign school? What does it take to lead a learning process in a community that is community-driven and student-driven? And they have given a lot of hours outside of their daily work as educators to be in national convenings with other schools across the country, to do coaching sessions, to visit innovative models across the country. And they've used that learning to now say, this is what we think our kids need, which takes us into this current semester, spring 2024. So in this current semester, we all know that promises to kids are sacred. And so the things that we said to students in the fall of, like, we're gonna take this learning and really do something with it, we want it to be true with that this year. And so this spring, the team at P-Tank has been working on building out pilots of a reimagined student experience based upon the interest in things that students are saying. And so I'm gonna pass it to Wendy to talk a little bit more about what are some things we learned from kids while we were surveying them, and how are we taking action to make those experiences come to life.
So what we've learned, we surveyed a lot of our high school students. I think we surveyed 200 and some out of our 600 students. We surveyed all of our staff members. And the data tells us that the students are not seeing education, or students are not seeing education relevant to them. They want skills that they can use together and learning that is interesting to them. Basically, what they're telling us is what we're teaching them is not what they feel they're going to need later in life. The students would like to have more choice and flexibility in the academic offerings and scheduling. Students want more peace and less violence within the community. Students want more opportunities to experience learning outside of the classroom, and students want the staff to see them as real people with real feelings and real problems.
All right, during this process, we have tried to get as many stakeholders involved in the process of reimagining what school could look like. Like we said earlier, we sent out surveys to parents, students, and the community. From these surveys, we have been able to do 2 pilots with 1 still being implemented right now. These pictures that you're looking at here represent some of the great things about our county.
And so we, here at Trenton, we really believe on building on community assets to be able to reimagine learning. And so we're going to talk very briefly for the second half of this presentation of like, what are some of the tangible things we are starting to do to build out those experiences for kids.
Well, we would like everyone to know that as of now, the program is very fluid and we are learning and changing our direction all the time. We look at things being written in pencil, not ink. We realize that learning happens at all levels and we are willing to look at our data and make changes as needed. We also believe that we have to work with the community to make this design responsive to students' interests and community needs. I'm going to pass it to Ms. Moore to talk more about our draft.
So one of the things we did was looked at the areas that Transcend helps to kind of build this around. And we selected some areas that really spoke to us and spoke to our students in terms of what they want out of the high school experience, which is communication, adaptability, the learner's mindset, critical thinking, empathy, personal responsibility, and collaboration. So with that, we kind of determined, so what does that look like? 'Cause those are a lot of technical words that kids are like, well, I still don't know what that means. For us, it was work-based learning. It was providing opportunities as we look at our community and our student body. We have students in many different types of needs, especially for high school. You have students that are trying to provide for family. Unfortunate for some students, they are the breadwinners to families. We have female students that have that are moms or dads, and so how do you provide that educational experience for them so that they understand that it's still important? So where we kind of took this is work-based learning, because what do we already have to offer that we can expand upon and not create something new and more overwhelming for teachers, students, and our stakeholders. So we looked at work-based learning because at the end of the day, we all want our kids to get jobs. We want them to be able to leave high school and get a job. So what does that look like? So what we've kind of done is put together a plan for how we want to roll this out. And so you'll notice that this is not, and I have to tell myself this all the time because I want something done right now. And I work with a superintendent that sometimes put these skates on that wants me to do things like right now. So this guideline helps us with, this is not a right now project. This is something that we're planning over the course of 3 years. And we love it because we have the opportunity to look at it like pepperoni. You got the whole pizza, right? But right now we're doing the pepperoni parts of this pizza because we're doing it in small chunks with our pilots in terms of being able to look at what we're doing, making adjustments and changes to those things, and then moving on to the next thing. So far we've done 2 pilots. The first pilot was just taking our students to a career fair and providing them the skills, things that we take for granted. How to introduce yourself to an employer, how to shake hands, soft skills. So currently we are blessed to be on a campus where we share with the middle school and the elementary school. And we sent high school students today to the middle school to be mentors and teacher assistants. And they came back with quite an experience in terms of either There's some work that needs to be done, but also skills that they figured out that they needed to work on without us telling them that. So through these pilots, we will continue, and you'll notice that right now we're in our Passion Exploration course. We'll move to one-to-one coaching and advisory, and with the hopes that our students will leave us with internships and job shadowing opportunities.
So this feels like a lot, oh, this is not like Principal Moore said, this won't all be here in August. And we could be back here in 6 months and you all say like, well, maybe that's not the move that we need to make. Because we believe at the end of the day, you all know what's best for your community, what's best for your students, and we will move at the speed of trust. What that means is that the timeline, it is what you create for your students. If you're like, we need another 6 months, or another 8 months, or we want to do this next week, then we'll move at that speed. But we think that one thing is very important is that we move with the community. And we talk a lot about this being community-driven design. And in order for community-driven design to exist, like it has to be a conversation amongst the folks. The folks who are y'all in the room have already had this conversation, however, about like, we want to do school differently. It is one of your priorities in your strategic plan. And so this work that we're doing aligns to some of the strategies that you've named around building strong partnerships to think about innovative strategies, building partnerships with businesses, ensuring that students have clarity in what they would like to do in the defined pathway, both academic and career-wise. And so we're hoping through this work at P-TANK that this will also illuminate for students not only why education must be reimagined, but why the workforce must be reimagined and how we're preparing kids for the workforce. And so in order for that to happen, we're gonna need you all's help. This community being in the driver's seat is very critical to us. And when we talk about the community, it's everyone in this room, it's everyone who's watching, hey everyone, it's everyone at home, it's everyone who is a stakeholder, everyone who is a taxpayer, including students. All of these voices matter to make this design move, and we have only gotten this far because we've pulled all of these people into the room to ask them, what do you want to be true about your community? The conversation's continuing, and we look forward to continue to have these conversations with you all as we continue to build out this design further. And with that's all we got. So we'll open up the floor for any dialogue, questions, comments, excitement, clarity.
If there aren't any questions for the team, thank you all for your presentation. We appreciate all the information you're giving us tonight and look forward to all of the exciting things that are going to be happening at Pasquotank County High School. Okay, now we will have 21st Century Learning Grant presentation by Sandy Kinzel, our Interim Director of Federal Programs, and Stephanie Ambrose, Principal of P.W. Moore.
Good evening, Madam Chair Cobb, Madam Vice Chair Pereza, members of the board, and Superintendent Parker. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening about a very exciting opportunity for ECPPS to apply for a grant that has the potential for making a huge impact on a school that's already making a huge impact on its students. This evening, we're going to share with you some information regarding the 21st Century Community Learning Center grant. And by the time we're finished, we would like to be able to answer any questions you may have, but then ask for your approval so we can hit the send button and submit an application. But before we start tonight, I'd like to have Ms. Ambrose, our principal at P.W. Moore, try to give you some background information to help you understand why we're in front of you tonight and how we got to this point. So Ms. Ambrose.
Thank you. So I'd like to start by giving some background where we are, where we've come from, and share with you why we would like to go in with this grant. So as you know, PW Moore started with East Carolina University, the University Assisted Community Schools framework in July of 23. We sat down with Dr. Amy Swain. We planned a plan for our school. What would we like to see happen with our students, our families, in our community? And the first thing we said is we need more family involvement. So it was at that time that we planned out events once a month for our families to come together with their teachers and sit down and have a meal together. Not only did we have a meal, we have other activities planned for the parents to see what the educational portions of their day may look like for the students. We had activities brought in by Mr. Hip Blarcliffe. He's a huge part of the success with this. He reached out to community members so that our students that had not had physicals yet could have their physicals. Their immunizations could be up to date. We have the Lions Club. They come out to do vision screenings for our families. We have different parts from the health department, different people in the community come out and have different things to give the families during our family event nights. We give programs. We've also put on performances. But this is a partnership that we feel has been important to improve the relationships with our families and our community. And we do this, like I say, once a month. We started by going in the community. We said they may not come to us, but we want to hear their voice. What do they need? So we went out to them. We went out to see what they wanted, to listen to them, to talk to them as we were giving ice cream to the children so they could be a part of it. They said, oh, you're in my neighborhood? Yes, we are. We're here to see what's going on. So that was the real nice part of it. So with the partnership with East Carolina University and the Rural Education Institute, Dr. Jerry Johnson suggested that we go for this grant. And I was like, wow, that would be really nice, because our teachers, as we look at data every year, we see at the end of the year after end of grade testing and all the testing has ended, we see where our students were and how much gains they have made. But then when we come back at the beginning of the school year, those gains have gone down. So the students weren't where they were at the end of the year when they come back in August and September for that testing. So I said, we need to do something. What can we do to help with this? And he suggested, what about this grant? This will be wonderful. It could help you for 3 years. And I said, yeah, that could almost be like year-round schooling, where we have our after-school tutoring program to be an extension of our Line Pride Time. And if you're not familiar with Line Pride Time, it is our built-in 45-minute intervention time during the day where our teachers plan instruction based on the students' individual data, based on their M-Class or based on their iReady. Whatever their data looks like, wherever those gaps are, we try to fill them. However, we know 45 minutes is not enough time, so we need more time. So this particular grant would give us that time that we need to go in for more of an extension to help our students catch back up and move them forward while they are with their teachers at school.
So here we are. Getting into some of the details of the grant. First of all, it's a very extensive grant application. And we have been fortunate through our partnership with ECU that they are providing us with a grant writer who is very experienced in this and has done a phenomenal job in a very short amount of time. So the grant itself is a 3-year federally funded grant. It's competitive. So in other words, we receive title programs, Title I, Title II, we receive those dollars pretty much as a given based on numbers from the state. But this is competitive. So we're going against anybody who chooses to apply, whether they're a school system or a private entity that's looking to help expand their programs or to be able to do what we're trying to do. The grant has to work with Title I schools, and it also has a goal of prioritizing certain characteristics as well as weighting different parts of the grant application so that when they analyze each of the applicants, they are ensuring that they're going to get the top applicants that meet their criteria so they can feel really confident about moving forward with awarding the grant. So the goal of the grant proposal in this program is to be able to provide federal funds to eligible Title I schools. And they're going to be tasked with either establishing, like we are at PW Moore, or expanding a community learning center so that it would operate outside of the regular school day, in essence, expanding the learning opportunities for our students. The other goals are about having a focus on academics as well for reading and math, but also providing some enrichment opportunities and engaging our parents and families, much like we're already doing there. So it becomes an extension of things that we're already doing through the Community Schools Partnership. The application allows for an optional summer program, which Ms. Ambrose alluded to. And the grant amounts are based on a projected number of students that we anticipate will participate in the programs. We look to request $375,636 annually to support both the after-school program and the summer program, which translates to a little bit over a $1.1 million in grant funding over the course of the 3-year grant period. So it's worth the effort in the long run. It's also important to note that part of the requirements is a lot of reporting, a lot of data collection, and a lot of reporting so that we can prove that we've done what we said we were going to do in the grant application. So it's important to note that we have budgeted a full-time director/site coordinator that would be tasked with helping to collect that data and be able to report it back through the system that we're required to use if we are awarded this grant. All right, some specifics of the grants. I'm going to break it down by each of the two parts of the program. The after-school program has to have a minimum of 300 contact hours across the school year. We have to offer intensive intervention and enrichment activities for at least 45 minutes in each of the program days in its schedule. So we have to begin the program no later than October 15th, and we're going to plan to meet that requirement well in advance if we can get all of our ducks in a row. We also need to provide family and parent evening activities. Again, this kind of dovetails nicely with what we're already doing. And we also need to track the attendance, and this is going to be the tricky part and one of the primary responsibilities of the program director and the site coordinator is tracking attendance. We're targeting for 120 students from PW Moore to attend, and as we're committing to that, it puts us at a certain tier level for requesting the amount that we're requesting. So we have to ensure that we are keeping that number of kids in attendance over the course of the year. So that's going to be challenging because, as you know, sometimes kids will fall out depending on community activities. And so if they fall off of our rosters because they're not attending, then we're going to reach out, try to encourage them to get back in, or go to a list of students that we hope to have on a waiting list and be able to pull them into the program. We also need to have adequate staffing for small group intervention as well as activities. We're looking to staff with a minimum of 12 teachers, focusing primarily on PW Moore's staff because they know those students best. Possibly having 12 teacher assistants that will be afforded about an hour a day that they could work without getting into the sticky wicket of overtime in this grant. It's kind of particular about that. So we will collect and submit the data and then, of course, make sure that we have support of the staff as well as the community, and I'll speak to that in a little bit. But also we would like your support as well. As for the summer program, it's not quite as extensive, but it is. It still has some requirements. We have to have a minimum of 16 hours per week for at least 3 weeks to operate an intensive summer program. Again, it's going to follow a similar schedule as what we designed for the after-school program. But we're looking to target rising first graders. So this year's kindergarten will be a rising first grader. So we're looking at rising first through fifth grade students so that we can bring them in, about 100 of them, so 20 per grade level, and be able to pre-teach the next year's curriculum to them. Not all of it in 3 weeks, obviously, but the major chunks of it, and especially the beginning of the year objectives, so that the kids get a leg up. And that has been a proven research-based strategy to help students accelerate their learning. So we've incorporated that into the summer program. We've also included STEM activities as well as physical activity, cultural arts. Those kinds of programs are going to be things that it's not going to be just hardcore academics. We're going to infuse some fun as well. So as with the after-school program, the grant requires a minimum number of hours of operation and focus on academics, but the support, I think, is worthy of mention at this point too, because Ms. Ambrose as well as Mr. Barclay have reached out and really ensured that we have the support of the staff. Ms. Ambrose has met with the individual staff members through PLCs. She then gave them a survey that was anonymous to make sure that they were on board and had an opportunity to be able to say they weren't if they wanted to, and then went to her school improvement team to ensure that we had the school's buy-in. Mr. Barcliffe went out and he rounded up a lot of support letters for us to be able to submit with this grant. And among those, we have the ECU, Rural Education Institute. Obviously, they saw this and they're going to support us 150%. But we also have Albemarle Regional Health Services, Elizabeth City Chamber of Commerce, the United Way, and Arts of the Albemarle. So all of these pretty large and noteworthy organizations have pledged their support. So now Ms. Ambrose is going to tell a little bit about the schedules.
So our schedules for the school year after school program, with the help of our nutrition department, Ms. Reinhardt, I reached out to her to see if we could have snacks provided. So at 2:45, when our students dismiss from school, they will have a snack provided through our nutrition department, and they can have a little brain break, a time to decompress from the school day. And then we will start with the tutoring program at 3:15. Because we're going to have so many students, we're going to have to schedule our day so that we have one group receiving tutoring while another group is getting intervention, enrichment activities, so to speak. And then after 45 minutes, we will transition. We'll flip-flop. The group that was having the fun time will come in and get the tutoring, and then the other group will go and have fun with the enrichment activities. At about 5 o'clock, we will stop things. We'll come back. We can have social circles. We can work on homework at the beginning or at the end, but our day has to be structured. We have to have a schedule ready to present so that we can make sure that we're getting that 45 minutes of tutoring per student, and we also have to get the enrichment in as well. Transportation, we're working on that with our transportation department with Amanda Hill so that we can get bus drivers to take our students home that do not have transportation at 5:15. Their day will end and then they will go home. But in order for this to go smoothly, we're hoping our teacher assistants will be with us from at least 2:30 to 3:30 to provide that snack. They can do 1 hour because right now they are 35-hour employees, so they can get an extra hour a day if they would like. If not, we'll reach out and see if we can get people from the community or the college to come in and help us out. And then for the summer program, we have to do a similar schedule to that, but that schedule will run like our Read to Achieve runs. However, it'll be at PW Moore, and we will have our students invited. Only our students will begin at 8:30 and they will end at 12:30. We still have to have the academics in there, and we also have to have the fun for our students. Breakfast and lunch will be provided through our nutrition department, and transportation will be through our department. So with transportation. So we're excited about this. We feel like it will be really good for our students to close their gaps, but to also give them a jump start on the year to come so that they won't feel so scared going into the next year. So again, we're excited about this. It is going to be a lot, but in order to keep our teachers on the roll, we will be able to make sure that we have 12 at all times. We will split their schedule. So 1 week they may work 2 days, 1 week they may work 3 days. Some may choose to do 5 days this week, and next week I'm not going to do any. So we want to work with them so that they can get in, work with their students, and then have break too. So we're going to work it out.
So finally, we're looking at our timeline for this grant. Tomorrow at noon, you will see me, maybe not see me personally, but we will all do a little virtual happy dance because with your approval, we will be hitting the button to be able to submit this grant because it is due tomorrow. April 1st or April through June, the level 1 and level 2 reviewers from DPI will be taking a look at all of the grant submissions and then coming up with the scores based on the rubric that they have. And they will then report to the State Board of Education the candidates that and the applicants that they're going to recommend for approval in awarding the grant. And then we should anticipate hearing whether we've been awarded or not by mid-July. I have to say that I've worked on a 21st century grant in the past, and while it's extremely extensive and detailed, I feel very, very confident that we have an extremely strong application. And with all of that wonderful work that has been recognized by the state and beyond for what's going on through ECU and with working with the partnership with PW Moore, I just feel really confident that this application is going to stand out and they're going to award us and be able to move us down the line. So with that, I will ask if you have any questions that we're able to answer for you.
The transportation cost, is that included
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
grant?
This is self-sustaining. If we are awarded the grant, then we will be able to fund everything that's related to the costs of the operating these two programs. Thank you.
And it's, go ahead. As far as the fine arts offering, would that be those organizations coming to the school or the school going to?
We can include field trips. Again, it would be a budget kind of constraint as far as additional transportation. I reached out to our friends at the Arts of the Albemarle, and while they receive some grant funding through grassroots that helps to bring in performances and programs, we could be the beneficiaries of that. But more than anything, we felt like they would be the go-to agency that might be able to round up some volunteers to come in because they're just passionate about their art. So being able to come in and either lead a presentation or help to assist with the students in doing their own work. All the materials and everything that would be needed for that would be
provided by the grant.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Dr. Williams.
I was going to say I had a question, but you answered it, and that was on staffing.
Yes.
And it would all be covered by the grant. So you shared it in your presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions for, Ms. Kinzel or Ms. Ambrose? Okay, if not, at this time, I would like to make a motion to approve the application and submitting the application for the 21st Century Learning Grant as presented this evening.
I'll second that.
Do we have any further discussion? Ms. Parker, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Pam Preza.
Yes.
Tommy Old.
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams. Yes. Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Valerie Bogues.
Yes.
And Sharon Warden.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Very, very exciting. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, our last item for this committee. The 2024-25 ECP Early College Calendar will be presented. Mr. Adrian Von Bull is here for any questions about the calendar.
Good evening, Madam Chair Cobb and Madam Vice Chair Perez. I'm here to present the early college calendar for the 24-25 school year. Two things to point out is one, February 17th, President's Day would be a holiday, and the early college will have an optional teacher workday on Good Friday, April 18th. So just waiting for your approval.
Okay, are there any questions about this calendar from the board? Okay, if no further questions, I make a motion to approve the 2024-2025 ECP Early College Calendar as presented.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Parker, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Pam Pereza.
Yes.
Tommy Old.
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams.
Yes.
Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Valerie Bogues.
Yes.
And Sharon Warden.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move on to the Global Citizens and Healthy Students Committee, and the chair of that committee is Mr. Old.
Okay, and I would like to defer to Ms. Tammy Reinhardt, Director of School Nutrition at this time.
Chair Cobb, Vice Chair Perez, board members, and Dr. Parker for giving me my voice just a little bit weak tonight. We have the opportunity to reestablish our community eligibility provision this year. And that provision provides meals at no charge to all of our students throughout the county, both breakfast and lunch. We are able to reestablish our baseline this year, and we have, over the last several years, every year we have reestablished. Our percentages of, I don't know if we have okay. On the chart that you were given, the community eligibility provision is determined by the individual identified student percentages. And it has went up this year over 9% from last year, which is an indicator of where we are economically in our community. It will provide greater reimbursement for school nutrition department, for the reimbursement of every meal that is consumed by the children. But the best of all is by reestablishing the baseline this year, this coming year again, it will reset that 4-year term. So we can, if we did not reestablish it, we would have 3 more years instead of 4. So this would reestablish that and assure that we can feed our children at no charge for 4 more years.
Thank you, Ms. Reinhardt.
Thank you.
So we need to have a motion to approve the community eligibility program.
I make a motion to approve GCHS-01 2024 Community Eligibility Program as presented.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Roll call vote, please, Ms. Parker.
Pam Pereza.
Yes.
Tommy Old.
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams.
Yes.
Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Valerie Bogues.
Yes.
And Sharon Warden.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. Okay, now we're going to turn over our program to Dr. Parker, who is going to share with us a new vision for Pasquotank Elementary School.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to share a couple of things with the board as it relates to our process over the past several months as we have thought about a repurposed plan for Pasquotank Elementary School. And I want to just kind of start by reminding everyone of what has led to this conversation about doing something different with one of our elementary schools. So Dexter, let's go to slide 3 and look at that chart there. We'll start there and then go back to slide 2. But essentially, as I've shared publicly over the past several months, we're having this conversation because the simple reality is we do not have enough students in the district to operate all of our schools. And that primarily relates to our elementary schools. We currently have 7 elementary schools. And as you can see highlighted in the chart, this chart shows our enrollment numbers as of 2016 up until the 21-22 school year. But you can see the decline in student enrollment. And as I've said, over the past decade, student enrollment has decreased from over 6,000 students to where we are now, which is roughly 4,700 students, give or take. Our enrollment fluctuates on a monthly basis based on students moving in and out of the district. And so, as I've said, there are reasons for that. One reason is population trends, where people decide to live, particularly where people with school-age children decide to live. In eastern North Carolina, and this is not just Pasquotank County, but in eastern North Carolina, with some exceptions, population trends tend to reflect that the growth in our state by families with school-age children is in urban areas, particularly in the center part of the state. And so eastern North Carolina school districts are grappling with the reality that there are going to potentially be less students in percentage-wise that will enroll in districts. That's one thing over the past decade that we've grappled with as a school system. The second is the increase in educational choice for families. And the percentage of students that currently attend the charter school that is in our county and then other private school options has had a significant financial impact on the district because it has led to a decrease in students that are enrolled in the district. And so as Ms. Tilley indicated in her finance presentation, we, like everybody else in the country right now, are dealing with a transition back to a normal operating budget post federal COVID money. And so as we think about the financial stability in the district, we just have to come to terms and grapple with public schools in North Carolina are funded by the state based on numbers of kids that are enrolled in that school system. And for whichever reason, population trends, school choice, whatever, anytime a student unenrolls from the public school, that translates into an automatic decrease in funding for that public school. And so we have to think differently about how do we maintain a quality educational experience and do it with less students currently, and also understand that we have facilities that have over the next decade significant capital needs to renovate them and sustain them. And so that's led us to think about a strategy and a plan, and the sustainability of that plan rests on doing something differently with one of our elementary schools. And so I want to start there just to remind the public and anyone that's listening of how we embarked on this conversation over the past several months. We'll go back to slide 2 there, Dexter. One of the things that we have done over the past several months is we have held several meetings, and we have tried to speak to anybody that would talk to us about this plan and get feedback and input and be very transparent on our process. We've had multiple one-on-one meetings with the Pasquotank Elementary staff. As I've said from the outset of this, our commitment has been that no staff member this year loses a job due to a decrease in funding based on enrollment. So we've made that commitment to our staff, that everybody is going to be able to maintain a job in the district. It just means that our proposal in this plan is that staff are going to be working somewhere new in a different facility. But we're making a commitment that staff are going to keep a job. We were able to meet with the staff. Ms. Haynes and Principal White at Pasquotank Elementary have had multiple one-on-one meetings where we asked staff members to indicate their preference. Where would you like to work in the district? What grade span? What position? What are you licensed for? And we've been able to honor the vast majority of the requests that staff gave to be able to place staff in a school or a department or a location in the district where they want to work, where their skill sets align with the job. And so, one, helping our staff recognize that this repurpose plan has nothing to do with the amazing staff and students at Pasquotank Elementary. It has to do with the financial considerations and thinking differently about what we do with our buildings, but wanting our staff to know that we care about them. We care about you, and we want you to work in a place where you're happy and your talents align with the needs of the job. We've also held some community meetings where we've invited the community, anybody to come and have this conversation. I've been able to attend smaller group meetings to be able to talk about this. We've made several phone calls to every Pasquotank Elementary family. So when this plan was announced, we made a phone call to all of the 230 families individually, and shared this information with them and invited them to one of the public meetings. And as we finalized the rezoning maps for the new schools, we called every family and shared personally where their child would go to school based on the proposed rezoning. So we felt like individualized conversations have been very important so that we can share information and also hear from parents in the public, questions they may have, concerns they may have, and suggestions they may have. And so I think that's been a really helpful thing here. We've also conducted staffing studies, facility studies, capacity and diversity studies about the demographics of where students will be going, membership studies about the enrollment in our other schools, and also transportation studies. And some of these have been really important questions to our families as we have gone through this process. Let's go to slide 5, Dexter, there. This slide is going to be difficult to see, but the color coding will indicate this. This is some information that is based on a study that the Board of Education conducted 2 years ago from a consulting group called Numerex that analyzed census data for population in Pasquotank County, numbers of students enrolled, educational choice options in the county, and forecasting out what with population trends we're likely to expect over the next decade for enrollment in the public school. What this shows is a forecast based on school capacity. And any school there that is indicated green is a school that is operating under their capacity, which would be under 90% capacity. Any school there that is yellow is a school that is within 90 to 100% of their capacity. The only school that is consistently projected and forecast to operate within 90 to 100% of the capacity over the next decade is Sheep Harney Elementary School. Now, this study was conducted before we're making the proposal for Pasquotank Elementary to be converted. We have also adjusted this study to forecast what the repurposing of Pasquotank Elementary would do to impact the capacity at the other schools. And what that means is that essentially 2 schools based on this repurposing plan would operate within the 90 to 100% capacity range, and that would be Central Elementary School and P.W. Moore Elementary School based on the repurposing of Pasquotank Elementary. Based on the studies that we've conducted and enrollment trends, of course, the current 5th graders at Pasquotank Elementary will be going to one of our 2 middle schools next year. They will continue to go to whichever middle school they were already zoned to. And so those 5th graders will move on, and it will just be current kindergartners through 4th graders that will be receiving a new elementary school next year. Based on those numbers of students, and the rezoning maps that we are proposing to the board tonight, 63 students from Pasquotank Elementary would be rezoned to go to Central Elementary School next year, 15 students to J.C. Sawyer, 46 to P.W. Moore, 94 to P.W. Moore, and that indicates there the numbers of students that will be rezoned, and I'll show a map of our rezoning projections here, and that'll help illustrate a little bit about what that means. And so analyzing capacity of schools and membership projections with this plan being approved, if the board approves it tonight, has been a really important part of what this study, that the work that we've been able to do has been a part of. We'll go to slide 7 there, Dexter, which shows a capacity for our facilities across the district. This is a part of the Numerex study that was done in 2022. But essentially what this shows is, again, based on 7 elementary schools, but our capacity at our 7 elementary schools is 3,400 students. As of this study, we were operating with 2,300 students in the 7 elementary schools. That's a surplus of 1,100 seats. Middle school has a capacity with our 2 middle schools of 1,600 kids. We're operating at 1,000 students. That leaves us a surplus of 500 seats at those schools. And our high schools have a capacity of 2,600 students. We're operating as of 21-22 at 1,200 students with a capacity of 1,400 seats remaining. Some of the folks I see in the room are graduates of Northeastern High School, were taught there. Many of you know that that school at one time held over 1,600 students. It's an extremely large facility. We're happy about that because it allows us a lot of opportunities to do things there. But the reality is our facilities have the capacity, the capability of holding far more students that are enrolled in the district now. And that's led us to come up with plans such as these, to think about a long-term strategy of how do we sustain the facility capability of our schools and also ensure our students go to a neighborhood school, that they're not bused hours to go to, that they can go to a neighborhood school, and it can also be a fully staffed school. And those are really important considerations we have to grapple with, and this plan is based in those foundations to make sure those things happen for our students. To continue to ensure that, we have to think differently about what we do with some of our facilities and how we structure those. A couple last things I'll point out here on the next slide on the pre-K portion here is rezoning students at Pasco Elementary to move to a new neighborhood school is a foundation of this plan. But what we also are excited about is an opportunity for us to move our current pre-K program to Pasquotank Elementary in a year. And we have a phenomenal pre-K program currently in the district. It's a 5-star rated program. There's a waiting list to get on into that program. Some of the most talented educators in the district work in that program. It is school for 4-year-olds. It's not just having fun and having snack time. It is school. And kids in their age 4 go to school in that pre-K program. It's extremely rigorous. We want to be able to, over the next 5 years, expand opportunities for students to get into that program. And so by moving this program to Pasquotank Elementary in the summer of 2025, we will, over the course of the next 5 years, seek out opportunities to expand our pre-K program. We currently have 10 classrooms in the pre-K program. We will honor those 10 classrooms and maintain that capacity. But as a district, we will have to seek out funding sources moving forward to expand classrooms. I think a healthy number is considering 3 to 5 classrooms over 5 years. Of course, based on parent need, is something that we would think about. But we have to explore funding for that and also come to terms with there is a list of kids currently that are not in our pre-K program on a waiting list that want to be there. As I've spoken with people, there is a tremendous need for early childhood learning and daycare opportunities in this county. We only serve 4-year-olds in the pre-K program. We don't serve 1 through 3. When a kid hits 5 years old, they go into kindergarten. And so we're not interested and not going to go into the market of daycare programs. We know we have to continue to work with our daycare partners and our pre-K facilities that work with us. But our initial indications are there's such a need that this will not be a competition. And that's not something that we would do. We've had conversations with the Coast Guard, which is applying and has received funding to open an early childhood center on base in the years ahead, and we have no intention of competing with that program. Our goal is going to find a way where we work in partnership with our local daycares and the Coast Guard to expand opportunities. But we know that early childhood, particularly pre-K, is a big opportunity. We want to find a way to expand it. My goal would be that through daycare partners, through the Coast Guard, and through us, in 5 years, we have an opportunity for any 4-year-old in this county to go into a pre-K program, either with us or a partner, knowing that we can't serve them all, but us and our partners could. And that's an exciting thing because I know when a child goes into pre-K, they're far better ready to go into kindergarten than had they not been in that program. And so this provides a really big opportunity for us. I'll finalize right here on this next slide. This one's going to be a little hard to see, but it is color-coded. Essentially, as we think about the next 10 years and beyond in Pasquotank County, the majority of the students in this county go to one of our downtown schools. We currently have 5 elementary schools downtown, and then we have some neighboring schools. And then you can see on this map, indicated by the pink color, we have our north side schools. Weeksville is at the bottom of the map, and then our centralized schools at the middle of the county. And so we're thinking about how do we support and sustain the public schools in 2024, but we're also thinking about what do these amazing public schools look like 10 years from now. And as we think about facility renovation, as we think about the need for new schools, as we think about how do we improve the current facilities we have. And that's not a conversation that I have all the answers to tonight. But as we think about the years ahead, we've got to think about the here and now, but we also have to begin thinking about population growth, where people are moving in our county, the age of our facilities, and how do we set our county up to have beautiful, well-funded, well-maintained facilities a decade and beyond from now. Because as we've said, we believe in public schools now, but I also believe in public schools 10 years from now and a generation from now. And so we're thinking about these things. Tonight is sort of a first step in that conversation about how do we do something different? How do we think differently? But it's going to be a conversation that we continue to have in the years ahead. Last part here is on the rezoning. And so as you can see on this map, the Pasquotank zone is the only zone in the district that we're proposing to the board to rezone tonight. So if you live in another zone, there'll be no changes to your child's zoning at all. This is just, excuse me, this is just for students that attend Pasquotank Elementary. It'll be the next slide, Dexter. What we have done is considered the capacity of our remaining elementary schools and bus routes and proximity to the other schools. Our goal has been to get every kid as close to their neighborhood school as humanly possible and to decrease travel time on school bus routes. As I mentioned earlier, those 92 kids that will be going to Weeksville, the vast majority of those kids live closer to Weeksville. And they live near Weeksville Elementary School and in that blue zone that you saw right there. And so we'll be able to decrease travel time for a good majority, not every kid, but a good majority of those 90 students we talked about. For our students that live near the downtown area, we're utilizing P.W. Moore and J.C. Sawyer to, again, get kids closest to what would be their neighborhood school. The students that live on Pear Tree, particularly at DeBry and up to Tatum, will be going to P.W. Moore, and then from Tatum up until Speed Street, those students being in closer proximity to J.C. Sawyer will go there. And for our students that live in the Queenswood neighborhood, they will be rezoned to Central Elementary School. And so, again, we've shared all of this information, the proposed plan, personally with each of our families. Doing an analysis of bus routes, bus capacity, and travel time has been a very important part to what we've done. And that has been the consideration of moving the early childhood center, the pre-K center, to Pasquotank Elementary. We have to maintain that in a centralized area to be able to keep our students from having long travel time. So at this point, would love to take any questions or comments from the board, and then following that, in any discussion, we will be asking the board to make a motion to vote on this proposed plan, which is the repurposing of Pasquotank Elementary, and then the rezoning maps as presented. Any questions or comments or anything I could speak to from the board?
Okay, seeing as we have none, we need a motion to approve the repurposing of Pasquotank Elementary School.
I make a motion to approve a new vision for Pasquotank Elementary School as presented and the rezoning maps as presented this evening.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion from Vice Chair Pereza and a second from Mr. Walton. Any other further discussion? May we have a roll call vote, please, Ms. Parker?
Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Tommy Old,
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams, Rodney Walton, Valerie Bogues,
Yes.
Sharon Warden.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. At this time, Dr. Williams, will you please take us into closed session?
A motion for the board to go in a closed session as allowed by NC General Statute 143 through 318, 11A6 for the purpose of considering one or more personnel matters that are confidential under the NC General Statute 115C through 320, and as allowed by NC Statute 143 through 318, 11A3 to consult with the board attorney regarding matters protected by the attorney-client privilege and to preserve that privilege.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Old. Any further discussion? Ms. Parker, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Pam Pereza,
Yes.
Tommy Old,
Yes.
Dr. Sheila Williams.
Yes.
Rodney Walton.
Yes.
Valerie Bogues,
Yes.
and Sharon Warden.
Yes.
Thank you. This ends our open session.